As far as I can tell, when women are told that we are giving attitude, it's just because we are standing up for ourselves and being blunt and direct in ways that women are not permitted to be, even though men are. Hi, I'm Summer Tothill. Every week on my Instagram, I run a Q&A with my followers. What you're about to watch or listen to is a compilation of 1 week's worth of those questions and answers. Thoughts on hookup culture? It normalises and encourages people to use each other. Well, yes, I certainly agree that's true. I think, much like porn, hookup culture is one of those things that in a neutral society where there weren't horrible gendered power dynamics of exploitation, it would be totally fine. It would be wonderful if people could have the kind of pleasure that they are seeking, negotiate really fun hookup experiences, and for nobody to come away at the end of that feeling exploited, used, and degraded. But the problem is men still hold a great deal of power in our society because they are still taught that their romantic affection and attention is the thing to withhold, and that they would be bestowing a great gift upon a woman in giving it to her, and that is the thing that she should ultimately want, and so he should withhold it and extract sex for her on the promise of giving her more than that. And women are taught the same thing. Women are told to value men's attentions and affections higher than anything, and we are taught that the chiefest satisfaction we can have in life is finding a man, hooking up with him, and hopefully getting him on the hook in a relationship. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the dating apps were more used to find amazing friendships and to find ways to get affection and intimacy, both emotional and physical, in your life without having to run the gauntlet of being exploited and degraded? So yeah, I think hookup culture, look, it's a move forward in terms of it's great that in order to sexually experiment now, women don't have to just go and marry every single man they like. But it really has a long way to go, and I think that is down to the general gender-based exploitation that happens in our wider society. I'm a stay-at-home mum. My husband refuses to help at home, especially on weekends. Is this correct? I think you already know that it's not, and that's why you're asking me, and I am here to very much help you and validate you that is absolutely unacceptable in a relationship. When a couple has children, they are both to engage in the grueling, backbreaking, unpaid labour of caregiving for that child and of doing the domestic labour that keeps the home running. And just because one of the parents is also going out and earning income doesn't mean that they are exempt from the rest of the work. The income earner often says that they deserve to not have to do anything around the home because they work, but they seem to ignore that the person who is at home doing 24/7 domestic and child-caring labour is also working, but for no pay, and in a way that does not build on their career, so that if they ever find themselves single, they will not be able to support themselves. Partnerships are supposed to be partnerships. You can't love someone at the same time as creating work for them that you have no intention of alleviating. Love is as love does, and exploiting someone, as so many men do in a heteropatriarchal society, is not love. It is not okay that your husband is exploiting you. It is not okay that he is burdening you with all of the labor. And if you are unable to convince him to change his behavior, you are so well within your rights to leave him. You deserve to be treated not as an appliance, not as an indentured servant, but as a person who is participating and sharing in the building of a family and a household with someone who cares about your experience and is personally invested in alleviating any difficulties for you. Okay, what are my thoughts on porn in general and men who watch it in a relationship? This is a really big and thorny topic, but I can summarize it fairly succinctly, hopefully. Porn in general, my thoughts are that the concept of watching paid actors perform consensual sex for the titillation of a viewer is a great concept. But in practicality, the vast majority of all porn that is produced is deeply misogynistic, doesn't depict consent or negotiation, and doesn't depict pleasure for anyone with a vulva. And increasingly, the older I get, porn is getting increasingly inherently violent, in that it depicts a lot more things like choking, slapping, and hitting that it certainly didn't depict back when I was finding internet porn secretly when I was 12. So young people are always going to find porn. I guess that's where I want to start, is that young people are always going to watch it, and so are adults. So if adults are going to watch porn, it would be great if they would watch more ethical porn and porn that didn't depict violence. And I would love to say that I know the solution to change the way that porn is, but I don't. And women have been trying for a long time, but it is still an incredibly masculine industry. In terms of watching it in a relationship, I think it is perfectly fine. The only thing I would say that isn't fine is if they're watching porn that changes the way that they interact with their partner in a negative way, or makes them do things like become violent or try non-consent without negotiating, or indeed to start to not be able to see their partner as a sexual human in a normal way because all they're ever seeing is the unrealistic standards of porn. But in general, I think watching porn has the ability to really enhance a relationship. Everyone is entitled to their zone of erotic autonomy and privacy about what titillates them. And hell, you can even watch porn together if it helps. How to get over being told you're giving attitude to a group of men when you actually haven't. Yeah, this is a doozy because women are policed so much in our language and expression in a very gendered way that does not apply to men. So men in the workplace especially are able to give women feedback on the way we comport ourselves, the way we talk, even our facial expressions, that amount to feedback that men would never be given even if they behaved in the same way and used the same words and the same expressions. So when you're being told you're giving attitude, I would love if you would demand an explanation for what that actually means, and watch those men backpedal as they describe behavior that the men around you would be absolutely entitled to conduct themselves with and would not be given the same feedback. As far as I can tell, when women are told that we are giving attitude, it's just because we are standing up for ourselves and being blunt and direct in ways that women are not permitted to be, even though men are. So when we get given feedback that distresses us and makes us question our worth a little bit, I think it's important to remember that men wouldn't feel bad about this if they even got given that criticism in the first place. I have certainly been criticized for my tone and specific word choices at work in ways that were incredibly surprising, because in workplaces where my manager was a woman, I never ever received that feedback in 20 years. Their feedback is not valid. If all you were doing was expressing your concerns about something and even managing risk in a situation, then you are not the villain here. And it is always highly likely that the feedback that you have been given was gendered. Women being tone policed is a studied phenomenon, so as far as I'm concerned, you can just brush off that feedback and move on. Do feminists bring solutions to the table? Well, if what you're asking is, do we bring solutions in the fight for gender equality and against gender-based oppression? The answer is yes. Feminism is one of the only, if not the only, socio-political movement that does consistently and chiefly bring solutions and educate around solutions that can help to achieve gender equality. Feminists bring solutions around how to change economic policy, around how to change healthcare, around how to fix men's violence against women, around how to reform dating and marriage so that it does not continue to oppress women in the ways that it does. Feminists write entire books on how to solve the domestic labor gap, the wage gap, the pleasure gap, and indeed the gaps in some of the outcomes that see men and boys suffering because of patriarchy. When we ask if feminism brings solutions to the table, I guess what we're tacitly implying is that in some ways feminism could just be complaining without offering any solutions, but in fact all feminism does is strive towards solutions. But a lot of people, when they hear someone educating and advocating about a problem, all they hear is complaining. And in a lot of ways, all they hear is criticism. And I think often all men hear is criticism when they hear how gender inequality and oppression exists. But what feminism and feminists are consistently doing is trying to bring awareness to and pushing towards and advocating and doing activist work towards solutions. That is all I am ever trying to do here. It's not fun to just whinge year on year on year. We are trying to make change, and that's what feminists are doing. That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Find me on Instagram at summertothill. That's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.